2026, the year prediction markets become the next big thing. Section 1. Introduction. The shift from authority to signal. Modern political and economic systems are built around authority: votes, laws, mandates, contracts. These mechanisms are designed to produce binding outcomes. Yet in practice, much of what actually moves policy happens before authority is exercised, through pressure, narrative, capital flows, public sentiment, and expectations. In recent years, the limitations of traditional influence mechanisms have become increasingly visible. Voting is infrequent and coarse. Lobbying is opaque and captured. Capital flight is blunt and often self-destructive. Protest is expressive but imprecise. None of these tools offer a fine-grained, continuous, and transparent way for participants to express directional preference without immediately triggering enforcement or conflict. At the same time, a parallel system has quietly matured. Prediction markets. Originally conceived as tools for forecasting discrete outcomes, they are now revealing a deeper function as market-based signaling mechanisms that allow participants to express beliefs, expectations, and preferences with skin in the game, yet without legal force. This shift, from authority to signal, marks a structural change in how influence can be expressed. And by 2026, the conditions appear aligned for prediction markets to move beyond finance and into a broader role, forming the foundation of what can be described as global policy influence markets, or GPIM. Section 2. Prediction markets revisited. At their core, prediction markets allow participants to buy and sell positions on the likelihood of future events. Prices emerge from aggregated belief, weighted by conviction and capital. Traditionally, their value has been framed in terms of accuracy, markets as superior forecasters. But this framing is incomplete. What prediction markets actually measure is not truth, but expressed expectation under risk. They capture what participants are willing to stand behind, not merely what they claim to believe. This distinction matters. Opinion polls are cheap. Statements are reversible. Market positions are costly. As a result, prediction markets function as a credibility filter. They reward consistency, punish noise, and surface signals that are otherwise drowned out in public discourse. Importantly, they do this without asserting authority. They do not decide outcomes. They reflect sentiment in a way that is legible, persistent, and comparable over time. This makes them uniquely suited not just for forecasting, but for expressing preference, including preferences about policy direction, institutional behavior, and governance outcomes. Section 3. 2026 as an inflection point. Prediction markets are not new. What is new is their feasibility at scale. By 2026, 3 constraints that historically limited prediction markets are easing simultaneously. First, infrastructure. High transaction costs on base layer blockchains made frequent low-value participation impractical. This has changed. Layer 2 networks and high-throughput chains now support millions of microtransactions with minimal friction, enabling continuous participation rather than episodic betting. Second, distribution. Wallets are no longer exotic tools used only by crypto-native users. They are becoming default interfaces for identity, assets, and participation. This lowers the barrier to entry for expressive market activity. Third, cultural familiarity. Markets are no longer seen purely as financial instruments. Younger generations already treat markets, platforms, and protocols as expressive spaces, places where identity, belief, and alignment are displayed. Together, these shifts position 2026 as a tipping point, the moment when prediction markets can plausibly operate as public signaling infrastructure, not just speculative venues. Section 4. Global policy influence markets. Global policy influence markets emerge naturally from this evolution. GPIM are not formal governance systems. They do not replace elections, parliaments, or regulatory bodies. Instead, they form a parallel layer, a signaling surface where individuals and institutions express preferred policy trajectories through market participation. In GPIM, influence is proportional not to authority, but to skin in the game. Participants signal support, opposition, or uncertainty by taking positions. These signals are transparent, time-stamped, and economically weighted. They are not mandates. They are expressions. Crucially, GPIM operate across scales. A local community could express preferences over municipal policy. Institutional investors could signal alignment or concern regarding national fiscal direction. Global participants could weigh in on cross-border issues without pretending to possess jurisdictional authority. This is not democracy. It is not technocracy. It is market-expressed sentiment, legible to decision makers, but not binding upon them. This content is brought to you by Bobby Giggs. Promote your brand here and reach a wide audience across platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow the links in the description to get started. Section 5. Actors and Incentives. The strength of GPIM lies in its inclusivity of actors with different forms of stake. Individuals participate to express belief, build reputational credibility, or earn rewards for accurate signaling. Institutions participate to communicate expectations, hedge outcomes, or influence narratives without immediate capital reallocation. Sovereign wealth funds and large capital allocators, in particular, face a recurring dilemma. Their primary tool for expressing dissatisfaction, selling assets, or withdrawing funding is blunt, slow, and often damaging to their own portfolios. GPIM offer an intermediate option: signal first, act later. Importantly, participation does not require uniform motivation. Some participants will speculate, others will express values. Some will hedge. The system does not depend on purity of intent. It depends on aggregation. Section 6. Wallets as civic ledgers. As participation becomes persistent, wallets begin to function as civic ledgers. A wallet can accumulate a history of expressed positions, which issues a participant engaged with, how consistently they signaled, how their positions evolved, and whether their expressed beliefs aligned with subsequent actions. This creates a new form of credibility, earned through participation rather than status. However, this also introduces tension. Expression and action may diverge. An institution may signal concern publicly while acting differently privately. Rather than invalidating GPIM, this divergence becomes informative. Markets reveal not just preferences but inconsistencies, which themselves influence reputation and trust. Section 7. Non-binding by design. A critical feature of GPIM is that they are explicitly non-binding. This is not a weakness, it is a safeguard. By remaining expressive rather than enforceable, GPIM avoid legal entanglement, jurisdictional conflict, and false claims of legitimacy. They function more like speech than law, amplifying signal, attracting attention, and shaping expectations without compelling action. In this sense, GPIM resemble other non-binding yet powerful forces: public opinion, credit ratings, or market sentiment. None of these are enforceable. All of them matter. Section 8. Technology as enabler, not protagonist. None of this works without scalable technology. But technology is not the story. Layer 2 networks, high-throughput chains, and decentralized wallets are enabling conditions, not drivers. They make participation cheap, persistent, and auditable. They do not dictate outcomes. The mistake would be to frame GPIM as a blockchain revolution. It is not. It is a coordination evolution with blockchain infrastructure simply providing the plumbing. Section 9. Risks and misinterpretation. GPIM introduced new risks. Signals can be gamed. Markets can be noisy. Participation can be performative. Overinterpretation is a constant danger. A market signal is not a mandate, and treating it as such would be a category error. The value of GPIM lies not in certainty, but in directionality. They are early warning systems, not decision engines. Conclusion. Influence without mandates. By 2026, prediction markets are likely to outgrow their original framing. As infrastructure scales and participation broadens, they will increasingly function as mirrors of collective expectation rather than mere betting venues. Global policy influence markets do not replace politics. They do not resolve conflict. They do not enforce outcomes. What they do offer is something subtler and increasingly necessary: a way to make noise, credibly and continuously, without pretending to rule. In a world saturated with opinion but starved of accountability, that may be their most valuable function.